So it doesn't really matter if you're painting a 959, a 288 GTO, a Cobra, or a 69 Camaro. Paint is paint, but it's a long, arduous process to get it to show quality. I'm going to take you through all of the steps from the original prep, making sure the body's straight, to putting on the base, making sure you put enough base on it, to putting on the clear, especially if you're going to cut it, you want to put 4 big heavy coats of clear, the cut and polish, making sure that that paint looks flat and the light refracts perfectly on it. We're going to take you through every single step and show you some of the pitfalls and some of the things you have to be careful for. So stick with us. This will be a really interesting segment for the guys that want to know how show quality paint really happens.
If you want to see more car content like this, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to visit our website to explore our curated inventory of luxury, classic, and investment grade cars.
So we're just about ready to shoot the 67 Shelby here. It's Wimbledon White, pretty standard. We've done, I don't know, probably hundreds of these cars, and they're pretty basic. There's 2 ways of kind of shooting these. One is to shoot it with not bagging it off or taping it up. There's a better chance or a bigger chance that you're going to get dirt in the paint, especially with a white car. You got to be really careful. So what we do is we tape off all of the openings, the whole body, the front end, the whole undercarriage. So all we're doing is shooting the exterior of the car. We're also going to shoot the hood, the fenders, and the trunk lid at the same time. Then what we're going to do later is we're going to go back, we're going to bag off the entire body, and then shoot the trunk, do the overspray underneath, do the interior, do all the blackout in the engine bay. So it's a 2-step process really to shoot this. And then if it's a stripe car, you're going to shoot the stripes at the very end, but you're going to bolt everything back on to make sure the stripes line up. So now that the car is prepped, we've prepped this car 600 wet, it's ready to shoot. You can see there's a couple of edges, you can see a couple of spots of bare metal where they've broken through. So we're going to put 1 coat of sealer on. That sealer is white, so it's kind of like a base coat almost. Then we're going to shoot 3 or 4 coats of base. We're going to make sure that we get complete coverage. Before Jason clears it, we always get a second set of eyes with the light to make sure coverage is everywhere. So I'm going to let Jason start on this. He's going to go around, he's going to do all the base, he's going to then denib any of the spots. We're going to have a second look at it before we put on the clear. So now that Jay's finished putting down the base and he's happy with the base, we always get a second set of eyes, and that's sometimes my job. Be it sometimes the asshole or whatever you want to call it, and go around and look for any spots that have been missed, any imperfections, any dirt, because before we clear it, now is the time to fix it if we have a problem. So we're going to go through it. Let's go, Jay. And then this one again here. This has to be really nice because when that door opens up, you're gonna see the inside of this a bit. All right? So do that really good. Load on a bunch on this edge here, bunch on the back still, and a bunch on the bottom.
No problem.
And then one more top,
Yep.
and good to go.
Yep.
Okay? So what we're doing is we're checking out, making sure that we have all the edges finished 100%. It's not thin anywhere. And it's always good to get a second set of eyes with the light to make sure that, you know, he hasn't missed anything. He's been looking at this car for about 1,000 hours now. So the car's painted now and the car looks great, and I'll tell you why we did things maybe not exactly the way the factory did. So originally the factory, when they painted these cars, they were all red oxide primer. And if you come in here and have a look, we've got the floor all red oxide primer in here, but the reason we bagged off this area is if you're gonna leave this open, you have a way bigger chance of getting dirt coming out of there. Let's face it, 90% of the dirt in a paint job either comes from the painter or from the car. Generally, it's not the booth, especially with modern booths. So now what we're gonna do is the next step is gonna be the same thing in here. It's got all the original red oxide primer that we shoot the whole car in because that's how they were done. Now we're gonna tape off the entire car, and then we're gonna spray this. This would have all been done in one go at the factory, but in a different environment. And because we're trying to make it show quality as opposed to just the way it was originally, we're concerned about dirt. This is the cleanest way to paint a car. So we'll show you what we do afterwards. We'll tape up the entire body. We'll do all of the white in the trunk, the white overspray into the floor pans, the white overspray underneath the car on the red oxide primer, and then the blackout treatment for the engine bay and the interior paint treatment. We'll also show you what we do for the overspray on the underside of the fiberglass, the hood and the trunk lid. That'll be a next process. So right now, car's finished, the big parts are finished. They're gonna put all the small parts in the booth, paint all the small parts. So after we finish all the little parts, the paint will be hard enough to tape on it. Then we'll show you all the overspray process. So when you're talking about painting a Shelby or any car for that matter, it doesn't come down to just the paint job. It's all the prep in front of it, going through making sure that all the gaps are perfect and lined up, making sure that the body is super straight, making sure all the details are right, the spot welds, the pinch welds, the spot welds in the trunk have been replicated if you had to put a trunk pan in, or the bottom of the rockers. And all of that stuff is really important, but it's the paint that everybody sees. It's what people say, geez, that car's got a stunning paint job. What they really mean is the body is great and straight, the gaps are proper, it's been fitted properly, the details are right. Especially on a car like this where everybody kind of knows how they should be done. The red oxide primer to duplicate that, the drips on the floors, the overspray, the amount of overspray that was done on the floor pans, the pinch welds on how they've been blacked out, the engine bay, how it gets painted, how the overspray lands, all of those things are fairly well documented. But again, when it comes down to the paint, the real trick is getting it to look super flat and super shiny. And there's only one way to do it. No painter in the world can lay down the perfect paint job. Everybody can say, hey, I got the best guy in the world. It's really the sand and polish that's important. And if you want to make it really straight and really nice, you're going to start by wet sanding it with 600 grit and an aluminum block. If you're doing it with 600 grit, you're getting all of the peel out of it. The light is going to refract properly and perfectly. If you do it with an aluminum block, you're going to keep it super, super straight. Then you're going to go to 800, 1200, 1500, 2000, 3000. On a white car, you're fine just leaving it at 3000. If you're doing a black car that's laser straight, you're probably going to go to 5000. And then you're going to use various compounds, from a coarse compound, a medium compound, to a finishing compound. So what we've done here is we've got it all the way to, say, a medium compound. We've got all the edges done, everything. We're ready to rip off the paper, and it becomes this giant model that can be assembled now. Once we've assembled the car totally, 90% of the polishing is done. But just by handling the car, touching the car, you're gonna get these little minor scratches here and there. So at the end, we're gonna do the last step again, everything on it, tape it off, and do its final buff. But this is really what makes a great paint job. It's the sand and polish from start to finish. So once the guys have finished sanding and polishing it, and we do that before we assemble it, and the reason we do that is so all the edges are perfect around the trim, around where the side scoops are going to be, underneath the door handles, everything. So you always want to sand and polish before you ever start putting the car together. Now the car is like a giant model, and the guys get to put it together. All the parts are going to get painted separately, all the suspension is going to get done. We're going to keep following the process of this car. We'll go through the suspension, the engine, the interior, the trim, all the things that make this car really special, and we'll keep you coming back hopefully to watch this car from start to finish.